Hello everybody, welcome back to the session on inheritance. Let's start with a real-time example. Assume that we have three classes. The first one, let's call it as car. The second one, it's a van. And the third one, let's call it as jeep. We might expect certain common functionalities between these three classes. The braking system might be same, or the acceleration process might also be same, and all three classes come under the common category called as four-wheelers. So, if suppose we want to write code in order to achieve these functionalities, then we have to do it in all the three classes, which in turn it's a tiresome process and also it occupies a lot of memory and hence the program becomes more complex. There's another way to achieve the same functionality. What we can do is that we can put all these common functionalities inside a class called as vehicle, a common class, and we can create all the other three classes, car, which in turn inherits the properties from the vehicle, and also it has its own property. Similarly, van, which can inherit the properties, the common properties from the same base class vehicle, and also it also has the own properties. Similarly, the third class, jeep, which can inherit the common properties from the same class vehicle, and also it has got its own property. So this process of inheriting the properties from one class to another class is what we call it as inheritance. It's very similar in real time or in your real life example. We can take it as a child which inherits the property from its parents. So being said, the capability of one class to derive the properties and characteristics of another class is what we call it as inheritance. We already know how all the other access specifiers, namely the private and public, works. Let me introduce another access specifier, a new one called as protected. So all the members under this protected access specifier will be accessible inside the same class and also in the classes that are derived from this class. To put it very simple, the members under private access specifier cannot be used anywhere outside the class, and the members under public access specifier can be used everywhere else, whereas the members and member functions that are defined under this newly called protected access specifier can be accessed only inside the same class and also all the classes which has inherited from this class. So let's quickly move into programming and find out what is this inheritance is about. Before doing that, let's check what all the different types of inheritance that are available. So as you can see in this picture, if a single class derives from a single base class, we call it as single inheritance. If a single class derives from two or more base classes, we call it as multiple inheritance. Whereas if we have two or more classes derived from a same base class, we call it as hierarchical inheritance. And if we have a level-like inheritance like this, as you can see in this picture, where one class derives from a class that has already been derived from another class, we call it as multi-level inheritance. And the final one, where we can have a combination of all the above said inheritance, we call it as hybrid inheritance. So let's see a small example about single inheritance here, whereas all the other inheritance examples can be seen in future videos. Fine, here we have the compiler with us. So in order to perform single inheritance, we need our two classes. So let us introduce two different classes first. So I call it as the parent. Okay, the second class, we call it as child1. Okay, fine. So we will include the headers first. Okay, it's done. And we'll be using the namespace std. So let's have a private property or private member that belongs to a parent. Okay, let me call it as father's SSN number and the mother's SSN number. Okay, then we can have the public access specifier inside which we can have a constructor. Okay, now before moving further, we can introduce this protected access specifier where I'm going to have the father's name and the mother's name. So as I told you, these two members are now protected, and so they cannot be accessed outside the class, but they can be accessed inside the same class as well as the class that is going to inherit this base class. So let us give some values in the constructor here. Okay, father's name can have some value and mother's name. Okay, let me call it as Renault. Okay, so any name. Okay, we call it as Mrs. Renault. That would be apt. Okay, and let's have a function to display the father's name and the mother's name. So we call it as display parent. Oops, okay, fine. So just put it as, I'm gonna print father's name. Then we can print mother's name. Okay. Fine. Okay. Cool. The base class is finished now. So if this is the class which is gonna inherit from the base class, so we need to give the syntax for inheritance. So the syntax is as follows. You write the derived class name followed by a colon and followed by the inheritance access mode followed by the base class name. Here the base class's name is parent. I'll let you know about this inheritance access mode at the end of this program. So as of now we call it as public, and here comes the base class's name. So it means that parent is the base class from which child is inheriting now using public access mode. So you can have similar kind of properties inside child also. So I'll just make a copy of this to make it faster. Okay, I'll call it as the child SSN. Then we can have the child name. So okay, we'll change the constructor's name since this is a child class. So child name. Okay, let me call it Cassandra. Fine. And we'll have a function to display the child's details also. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So we'll create the main function really fast. Okay. So since this involves inheritance, we're not going to create an object for the parent class and make it as a mess again. So we're just gonna create an object for the child class, and with the help of the same object, we'll be accessing both child class's property as well as the parent class's property. That's the advantage of inheritance over here. Excuse me, yeah. So we'll create an object for this. Let me call it as ch. So first I'll call the parent class. Okay, sorry. Parent class's function. Then we can call the child class's function. Fine. So we'll save it. We'll try to execute it. So the program is T2. Okay, fine. Yep, you don't have any errors. So we'll directly move into the execution part. Yeah, that's right. So here, the first function, which belongs to the parent class, has been called with the help of the child class's object because it comes into the child class's property due to inheritance. And then we have another function call, which is display child, which belongs to the child class. So this explains simple inheritance. So the code that has been defined in the parent class is being reused here. and it is not recoded again. And that is the strength of inheritance. Thank you for watching this video. For more information about other types of inheritance, please do watch the next videos or the forthcoming videos, and please do subscribe to my channel if you like it. Thank you.